Welcome to Doctor Who Review, whatever it is we're going to call this. Last time it was probably referred to by people as, why can't we see you? Because it's a podcast. We just added a visual element for those who like running it in the background. You shoulder shimmying? That's not going to pick up to the people listening.
Yeah.
Shimmy, shimmy, shimmy. Anyway, I'm Chris.
I'm not Chris.
Hi, not Chris. And we are here to talk about Series 2 Doctor Who, Season 2. We've carried on. We haven't seen what your responses to Season 1 are because we're actually recording this before Season 1 even goes out because we're trying to get ahead a little bit. Time travelling away. But yeah, basic roundup of how you felt about Series 1 as someone who'd never seen these stories and as myself, someone who's rediscovering some and revisiting. Thoughts on Series 1 for those who may have skipped it?
Very enjoyable.
Aye?
I have lost faith in Doctor Who recently. When I say recently, I mean the last couple of years. I love Peter Capaldi when he's not in Doctor Who.
Oh.
Sorry.
You prefer him in other things?
Yeah.
Or as, like, Caecilius and John Frobisher as opposed to the Doctor.
Yeah. I mean, the thick of it is a piece of art. It really is. And so accurate, it's terrifying. But, yeah.
We need it now more than ever.
I mean, but what... Good episodes, Mummy on the Orient Express. That's it.
Flatline, apart from Clara being the main thing.
No, if it's got Clara in it, it's automatically... Can I swear?
Yeah.
Shite.
What about Day of the Doctor?
Yeah, it's ruined by her.
Oh, wow.
If there were anything...
Not by the fact that the time was ruined by being explicitly shown as just being pew, 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 instead of all those magical things that we were left to imagine.
I didn't mind that. Massively. But but it doesn't matter. That could have been the worst thing about it. But the fact that Clara is in it, I'm really sorry for everybody that loves Clara, but I hate that character. I hate it.
We are getting on a tangent like crazy.
Anyway,
the point you're making is you
oh yeah. So companions make it for me. I know it shouldn't necessarily, but
well, it depends. Like a lot of the relaunches or series starters of the show are based off the idea that the companion is our window into it. They're our main character. Like 2005, it is Rose's season.
Yeah.
You know,
and
the Doctor's
Billie
just
Piper
the other main
is
character.
amazing in what she does. But I love David Tennant. David's my Doctor. But Martha.
Is it not am I not your Doctor?
We'll get to you later.
Chessington World of Adventures.
That's adorable.
Oh, exterminate!
You're entertaining yourself. Stop it.
Sorry, it's kind of sad, isn't it? There he is.
What's he doing?
Having a little walk. So, Series 1 you enjoyed, was it because of Ian, Barbara and Susan?
I think it really was.
Yeah.
Ian and Barbara are my favourites. I know I get really passionate about it, but they are my utter favourites. They really are. I love them to pieces.
So, you were excited to start this run then?
Yeah.
This chunk.
Because it's so much fun. It's old, don't get me wrong, but I love old stuff. And
friend of the show, friend of our lives, Guy Lambert once described Doctor Who as like bank holiday or Sunday afternoon telly.
Yeah, definitely.
Like watching the classic run of Doctor Who at the minute is sort of like just cuddling up on the sofa with some sweets or some chocolate and a cup of tea and just watching something old and a bit daft and lovely, and I think that's a really nice description, and that's kind of how we approach this run. However, I obviously know because I'm watching it with you how you feel about chunks of this series. Some good, some bad. Should we just crack on and see what happens?
Yeah.
Now, this is Series 2 of Doctor Who. Planet of Giants. Hello. Planet of Giants, Dalek Invasion of Earth, The Rescue, The Romans, The Web Planet, The Crusade, or what's left of it, The Space Museum, The Chase, and The Time Meddler. This is a big season. Like, this is a big-ass series. It's so long. Big-ass. Adjective. Adds gravity to any scenario. And let's start out with the biggest of asses, Planet of Giants. Now, Planet of Giants, when you first heard that title, the picture's going to reflect like crazy on this one. Never mind, it's a bright day. Enjoy the summer, kids. When you first heard Planet of Giants being the title, I think it was at the end of Reign of Terror, wasn't it? It was like Planet of Giants, the next one.
Yeah.
What were you imagining the story was going to be about?
Giants. I was expecting...
Good night, everybody!
I was expecting... I don't know. I really don't know. Giants.
Really?
There's a planet of them.
Planet the Giante.
Oh, the Giants.
Oh, Mr. Giant. Okay, so you were thinking that it was going to go down that route. Maybe our heroes were tiny on the planet. Did you expect it to
Or
be
maybe
what
they
it
were
was?
giant on that planet. You know, I have no idea. I hadn't really thought about it, if I'm completely honest.
So when it started and it was the TARDIS has buggered up and is unfortunately tiny in its material. Like, what were you excited for that kind of story?
I was
like, where
excited
we were
because
going to go?
that sounds adorable. A tiny, tiny TARDIS.
Tiny TARDIS. I watched this once before. It's only 2 eps. Oh, it's 3 episodes. Is Planet of Giants. Isn't it weird how the fantastical element of the story is the TARDIS materializes, something's gone wrong, and it's materialized at like an inch high, and they're really small. Great premise, and yet the story isn't about them having to like get back to the TARDIS per se.
No.
Through like the now exaggerated jungles of a garden, because all the things they meet are dead, apart from one fly briefly. The story's a murder mystery.
It is, and it's fantastic.
An espionage story about a chemical company and an inventor going, nope, we can't put this out there, it's going to hurt people. And the guy being like, right, well, you're dead, bang. And no, I'm going to get my colleague to come and clear it up. Spoilers for a 53-year-old story, guys. But it's weird, isn't it, that that's the direction it goes in? It's so strange. I mean, because look at the front. Like, you've got a giant ant, and there's like not the only one of those we're going to encounter this series. Although this one looks more terrifying.
That one looks like an ant.
But yeah, it's. I mean, I think the best stuff in this is when Ian's separated from everybody briefly, and just watching him being carried away in like the bag and the matchbox and stuff. And
that was done really well.
Yeah,
it
like
really
those props are brilliant.
Yeah.
And again, William Russell and Jacqueline Hill are excellent in this. Although she goes through the ringer in this one.
She does.
Barbara thinks she's been poisoned by the insect repellent, and she spends the whole story. It annoyed me a bit actually, how she wouldn't just come clean and be like, "Look,
that seems really strange."
Because she was so tense and scared, and it was weird to see Barbara frightened for the majority of the story. Because she's always like so on it. I mean, Crusade, Edge of Destruction. How dare you! Like she's just on it. So it kind of seemed a bit. But it just made me want her to be alright even more. So it all works out in the end. Right? Short, sweet, simple. What do we think of Planet of Giants?
I loved it.
It was good, wasn't it?
It was great. It was very. I know everything was dead, but it was very fun to watch that and it not have like aliens and space in it. I know that's the whole point of the show, but it was.
Well, no, not at this point. That's the thing at this point, isn't it? The historicals are historicals, and the future set stories are there to teach you about science.
But that's
like,
time travel.
Aliens isn't a focus; it's just part of it. And this one is just tiny people trying to stop a horrible product being shipped out.
That could very easily not be a Doctor Who episode. That could be something else entirely. Yeah, and I just think that it's
like an episode of Magic School Bus or something, albeit with murder.
It made me think of something, but I can't quite think what. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, that's what it made me think of.
Yeah, well, there you are. Immediate comparison.
And that was much more terrifying.
Yeah.
And terrible.
And Barbara continued her tradition, not Barbara, Susan continued her tradition of tripping over shit and doing her ankle in.
Bloody Susan.
Speaking of which, let's move on to one of my favourites, but you really didn't enjoy this one at the time.
And just leave.
I'm curious as to what you think now in retrospectively, because we've watched these over the course of just the amount of time that we can find in our day-to-day lives. So since we finished series 1 until now, it's been like a month. So, or just under a month. So I wonder if your feelings have changed about this, because I remember at the time how you felt. Dalek Invasion Earth.
My hair's dripping, sorry.
Dalek Invasion of Earth, the freaking gigantic Terry Nation serial.
50 episodes.
100 episodes.
On 3,000 discs.
I really like Dalek Invasion of Earth. Can you, for the sake of can you recall what you remember of the plot of Dalek Invasion of Earth?
It had Daleks.
Okay, that's cheap. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone. Everywhere you... No. I can't remember how it begins. Because it was...
They arrive back in London.
2 millennia
and they're
ago.
like, hang on. The hell's going on?
Oh, yeah.
There's
There's a poster that says, "Don't drop your bodies in here, please."
Please don't
Thames.
Put bodies in Thames land. Thanks, mate.
Cheers, thanks, bye.
But yeah, they arrive there and things are quiet. There's hardly anyone around.
Do you know what? Susan bloody ruins everything. They could have got away.
Twists a bastard ankle.
Bastard ankle.
Pia falls down, covers the TARDIS.
Yeah. And they go off searching, and then
you realise that people are sort of hiding away,
Yeah,
and then
'cause nobody knows.
what happens at the very end of episode 1? Can you remember? They look to the water.
And a bloody Dalek comes out.
In
And
one
then,
of
do you
the
know what? That
coolest shots.
is a very cool shot.
Just slowly
you wouldn't
trundles out of the water.
You wouldn't tell me what was going on.
Yeah, well, I didn't.
can,
I purposely didn't say what the story was called before I put this one on, didn't I?
I can usually gauge. Sorry, I can usually.
Episode 1's called World's End, and that's teased at the end of Planet of Giants.
I can usually gauge what's going to happen, and I know your poker face so well. So if I see, it's terrible.
They can't see; they're listening.
It's beautiful, but terrible.
But you had no clue.
But I had no idea.
That's pretty cool.
Because I did not think that the Daleks would be in it so much.
Well, that's the thing. They're not in it a lot, really.
More than I thought they would be.
But it's because it's in the 60s, there was that thing of these are the favourites, so we need to wheel them out more often. Because they feature in 2 stories this series. If your Dalek fatigue is settling in, you'll be happy to know the 3rd Doctor encounters them twice. No, the 2nd Doctor encounters them twice. We can only watch one of those properly. Okay. The 3rd Doctor encounters them twice, late into his run. The 4th Doctor encounters them twice, once early, once later, and then it's 1 per Doctor after that. So your Dalek fatigue will go away, and I think you'll get to that point where you're like, oh, it's a Dalek story, cool, because it's so rare. Do you know what I mean? But what do you make of this one? Like the plot, I love the plan. They're basically going to hollow out the Earth because it's all the mining stuff. It's like, what are they doing? They've lobotomized people, turned them to Robo-Men. Like, what's going on? Why have they got them working?
Robo-Men.
Forcing people to. That's creepy.
That's very.
Especially when what's his face confronts his brother.
Yeah. Oh, well,
that's horrible, isn't it? No, but you know what I mean.
That's really bad for
that's horrible. That scene because it doesn't result in him like you know another kid shows it'd be like, come on, you've got to remember, and he'd be like, yes, I do, and he'd break the programming. And he kind of stumbles, and then they murder each other.
Yeah, but do you know what?
And it's really horrible.
It's got something in it that I really, really like. I find it quite charming. Not fighting.
Yeah, like Ian's done some fighting in the last few stories, but in this one it's more just kind of like scrapping, kind of.
It's a really dramatic lead up, and then a not very hard like ah. And that's how I see it. But also there was that moment where they were in that mine cart or something, weren't they? And they said that it was like a 15-foot drop or something, and it was like 2 feet, and it was really obvious. That really made me chuckle.
Again, a story where everyone sort of gets separated and has to deal with stuff. First time it seems like the Doctor is in like proper peril as well because he's separated from everybody and he's going to be turned into a Robo-Man.
Oh God, I forgot the Doctor was in this.
Well,
what's the show called?
The Doctor gets the best scene in it, which William Hartnell gets to share with Caroline Ford, because one of the reasons this one's remembered so fondly, aside from like the different types of Daleks rocking up and the dishes on the back, because they figured out how to leave Skaro now, and they use static electricity in the air. Well, they use static electricity in the air to power themselves, which is quite cool. And they've got the bumpers like the movie ones, probably because it was cheaper to just reuse props and stuff. But the last episode, of course, contains. I think you knew what this scene was, but I don't know if you knew it was in this story.
I did not know it was going to happen. No.
Susan. As a future First Doctor will say, leaving the show. Talk to me about that, because I've seen this a shed ton. I've watched the story, so I've been through that a lot. But how about you?
He left her with no shoes on.
With one shoe missing.
Well, okay, he went to go and repair the shoe that had a giant hole in it. I mean, how does that happen anyway? But anyway, regardless, he left it with no shoe on. That's what I focus on. Like, how could you do that? You left your grandchild in a dystopian future with no shoe.
I love the way he clutches it. Hartnell plays it so well because it's almost like he's saying, like, he's thinking to himself, "This is the only thing I'm going to have to remember her by." And then I remember, isn't there a whole like room? Doesn't she have a room in there, like a wardrobe?
Hasn't she got more shoes? I don't know.
It's a weird choice because he can't control the TARDIS at this point in the show. Yeah. Like, he can't pinpoint an exact destination. So it's a big risk.
And she knows that as well.
But I think it's because there's a few lovely moments in the story where he catches her and David and is like, oh,
well, she's
making but like you didn't see that.
How old is she?
Unless in the bushes. We don't know. Susan is pitched out as like a 15, 16, 17-year-old girl.
But she's got to be older than that.
Caroline Ford was in her early 20s, but she's she's from his planet, like his world.
So we don't know how old she is.
If we assume going off later, what they decide later, because of course they hadn't built the idea of Gallifrey and everything yet. But like, if we go off of what later,
not even mentioned Time Lords, have they?
No, just their people. They're on the run from their people, and they stole the time machine. Do you know what it's like to be exiles in the fourth dimension? Do you? Sorry. The humming is like the main dialogue of this entire series. Followed by a even if he said, "Oh, it seems they've burned their village down and killed all the babies." Yes, yes, delightful. That's basically what he's like in this series. It's implied Susan might be a bit older than like our 16, 17. Yeah. She might be a bit older. But either way, she's always been very dependent on her grandfather. So he sort of sees her connecting with someone else finally. She's never belonged anywhere. She's never belonged anywhere. And it's implied that he's never really let them belong anywhere, because the moment there's been any sort of suggestion someone might be paying attention to them, he's like, right, let's go. And then they change time period. So I think it's more just about him growing. Like, he stops being a fussy little bastard and he sees her making a real human connection. Is like, okay, right, but it's time for me to stop fussing over you, and you now finally have something woman. You've never had, which is a chance to belong, and it's sort of forced upon. I mean, I think he forces it on her, and she plays it so beautifully when the TARDIS leaves and she just walks over to where it was.
See, that's something that makes me feel really sad, because she's realised that she's never going to see her grandfather again.
Yeah.
And it almost looks to me like she's happy that she's with
David.
Thank you.
David. Yeah, David.
But
yeah.
she's also really, really sad that she's left the TARDIS, and I don't know. She just looks really depressed.
Well, it's all she's ever known.
Yeah. And also, he's left her in a destroyed London.
Yeah, you can rebuild with David. Yes, you can do the naughty. You can bump the watch-its. Yes, and make the babies.
Doctor,
yes,
no,
yes.
no.
Making babies, yes.
Doctor, what is your obsession with babies?
Babies.
Stop. That's horrifying.
One day I shall come back and talk about babies. Yes.
Stop it, please.
But overall, looking back at this, what did you think of Dalek Invasion of Earth?
I enjoyed it because there was lots of craziness, and there was a lot of moving around, like Barbara and that lady.
Barbara and that lady.
Visiting that other man.
Barbara and the lady!
Was he like a professor or something? And he ended up blowing up like a couple of Daleks.
Yeah, that seems great. And when she drives through some Daleks in the street, smash through them with a truck. That's pretty cool.
I've got to say, Daleks aren't very good at finding people in a room.
Nope.
Like, people hide in really obvious places and they just can't.
As do people. Like, humanoid bad guys are terrible at looking slightly behind them in this run as well.
And I think
it's in the Reign of Terror. There's a bit where like one of them clearly just walks past someone. It's like, I mean, really?
Yeah.
Right there. Yeah. Right there, guys.
Walking down a corridor and you've seen somebody run out and go, and run back. And they still don't know you're there. That's fantastic. But it's giving people a false sense of security. If they're ever in that situation and they hide like that, they're gonna be found.
So yay?
Yes.
Yay.
I don't think it needed to be as long.
No, that's true, and something I and a lot of fans do feel this, and a lot of others will staunchly feel the other way. But I don't think Terry Nation is particularly brilliant at writing stories.
He's got a good idea,
but he has the same idea, and then he repackages it every time, as you'll discover when we carry on with his stories. Because the Dalek stories only start to get interesting again when other people begin to write them. Oh, no. There we are. Now the rescue. This is again short and sweet. This is a 2-episode dealio. Yeah, powerful enemy and desperate measures. Stranded ship. 2 crew left surviving. 1 injured. 1 is young Vicki. They're waiting for a party to come and collect them. The people on the planet that used to be there, the Doctor knew them and they were lovely, and now they're suddenly gone. What the hell's happened? And they're being menaced by this creature called Quillian, who won't let them leave. Kashmilian.
2 billion.
2 billion. Quillian won't let them leave and might sabotage the rescue ship to blow it up and pushes Barbara off a cliff. He's a right old bastard. Short and sweet. Introduction to Vicki. What do you think of this one?
I think it could have been better. It's a shame. It's a shame that
we're a shit. Bye, everyone. I really like this one. I really like the rescue.
I kind of liked the shittiness of that costume of the Chameleon.
Quilliam. But then, spoiler alert for a 50-odd-year-old television serial. Did it feel much better when you found out what was really going on with Quilliam?
I kind of knew that it wasn't real.
Well, you sort of spend the show going, oh, okay, that's a cool design, but by today's standards, that is an odd costume choice to make for the monster.
Kind of
and then at the end, it's like, oh, it's not a monster. It is an
something
outfit.
that somebody's made out of.
It's a ceremonial thing.
Oh, sorry.
I
liked the chamber. That was a shame that wasn't in a lot more of it.
Well, that's the thing. I like the twist, which I won't go into specifically, but I like the twist at the end, because it's like, oh, snap, okay. Ooh. I like the fact the Doctor takes charge in that, and freaking gets physical again. There's a few episodes of the series where he gets physical. Nobody starts like wrestling and slapping people and hitting them over the head with stuff.
Well, we'll get to that. Later.
And then, but I like that. But you're right, the chamber at the end is an amazing set.
I wonder what it was a set for, because surely they can't have built it for
They
just
must have
that.
borrowed it. It's definitely in studio based on the cameras, but they must have borrowed it.
They just wouldn't have had the money to do that, and then
for
never use
5
it
minutes,
again. Yeah, exactly. I love Vicki.
Yes.
I'm a bit, I'm like, for some reason, if somebody's even slightly irritating, I hate it. Which is why I don't like Martha.
Martha's great. Shut up.
She's very whiny, and also Susan was quite whiny.
Who?
Susan was quite whiny, so there was a bit of me that was like,
no, not Susan.
A little less Susan, please.
A little less Susan Foreman, a little more Vicki, please.
That was good. But yeah, no, Vicki, I don't find her irritating. I find her quite charming and tiny and adorable.
And it's kind of a cute spin on it that she's still like young and learning like Susan was.
She's very clever.
And she's also in some ways smarter than Barbara and Ian because she's from several centuries ahead and there's stuff she knows that they have no idea about. And that lovely juxtaposition of her being like, oh, that's like that really old music. And they're like, what?
What did they play? The Beatles?
Oh, they play the Beatles in another one. There's a bit where she's like, she plays them something or whatever, and Ian's Barbara's like, what the hell? And he's like, oh, get with it, it's great. Because he's obviously, he genuinely loves pop music. And he just goes with it. But yeah, so I really like the rescue. It's short and sweet.
I think.
And Billy Hey.
They could have been better.
Well, you suck. You don't. You're amazing. But I'll tell you what else is amazing. The Romans! Yay! The Romans was great!
Historical.
And a comedy.
Very, very, I love it.
Like, really dark, and then flipping hilarious. Yeah. It's so weird. So, the Romans, the guys decide to take a vacation after the events of the rescue and just chill out somewhere for once. And they settle in Rome. They go to like a villa that's sort of on the outskirts of Rome. And I can't remember which city they're in specifically, but yeah, no one's there. So they just basically bring in a load of fruit and wine and probably nick a few and just decide to chill there for a week. And they've had a great time, and just as they're about to leave, shite hits the fan. Ian and Barbara get captured and sold to separate slave auctions. Doctor and Vicki get embroiled in a bit of espionage from an invading force that are sending a musician forward as a spy scout who is murdered, and then the Doctor's mistaken for him, so he's now going to be the musician. You have Emperor Nero, the most crazed Caesar on historical record. It's pretty great.
The most British Rome I've ever
heard.
I
mean that's always been a thing. There's been so many serials over the last like century where television and stuff have done Rome, and they're always like, oh, here's. I mean, for Christ's sake, is it Jesus? Is it Jesus Christ? What's the film? It's not Jesus Christ Superstar. There's the one that Willem Dafoe's in as Jesus.
Spider-Man.
Avenge me, he says. That's blasphemous, but we're joking. But anyway, he's in. I can't remember what it's called now. He's in a. Stop it. He's in. I can't remember which one it is now, but he's in a biblical movie where he plays Jesus, and Bowie is Pontius Pilate.
I have no idea what this is. I don't know what you're talking about. I know who he is.
No, but like it fits because again, it's just that British villain thing in that sort of role.
But he's an angel.
He's a star man who ain't sing was.
David.
God, so like yeah, this is a very British Romy thing, and it's sort of got. It makes me think, obviously, retroactively of like Up Pompeii, like that kind of thing. But I suppose it's because of the comedic elements in it. The stuff with the Great Fire of Rome and everything is brilliant.
Yeah.
And like the setup for it.
Mm.
The Doctor, again, thwarting assassination attempts on his life by like beating the crap out of people with the things in his room is great to watch. I love the Emperor's New Clothes sort of thing where he fakes playing a tune on the harp because he's like, it's the most incredible melody and only those of a high IQ and imagination can hear it. And everybody in the court is like sort of, okay, yes, it's wonderful. Yeah, and they're all talking.
The greatest sound
and Nero's just a bit too thick. Like, because he feels like he's being insulted, but isn't
like
sure.
My laugh, then.
But isn't sure if it's just because he's an idiot. Ian again gets rough and tumble. But do you know what my favourite thing about this story is? It's the Doctor and Vicki. Because instantly, one story later, they have a rapport, and it's really sweet.
One thing I loved about it was, I know it's something that's been done over and over and over again, but this was before all that. There's the, oh, they're here. Here's the other team. Oh.
Yes. Oh, well, I mean, quite literally, like the corridor stuff.
Don't know what I'm talking about. But they almost bump into each other, but don't.
Or the corridor stuff where like Barbara goes one way and Vicki comes back in. It's like, oh, they just missed each other.
Where Barbara's running down the corridor and then turns like that, and the Doctor's there, and it's like, stop.
There's some creepy, perverse elements to this one, but it's not nice people acting that way, and it is very true of what we know of those like palaces and courts and everything. So it is accurate, and it's still creepy.
But also, the Doctor beats somebody up and is laughing maniacally all the way through.
Yeah, take that! Oh yes! Oh yeah! Oh yes! Like, oh!
It's not
F Batman! Oh yes!
Shut up. It's topical.
For whatever this comes out, apparently.
It's not a maniacal laugh, that's not what I mean. It's like a cheeky laugh.
Yes. He's having a blast.
Where he knows full well that he's going to win it. He's just goose chasing this man around.
Also, this is the story where he starts saying TARDIS as well.
Oh, and that feels bittersweet.
Yeah, because it was always the ship. Susan called it TARDIS. Now she's gone. He started calling it the TARDIS or TARDIS. He's also a lot lighter. You feel like now that he's not being a grandfather,
he's not being protective grandfather.
He's loosening up a bit, but all the same, Vicky's kind of giving him that feel. Oh, someone who I can teach, someone I can look out for.
But she's smarter than Susan, so we'll go with that.
Yeah, well, she's more instinctive than Susan.
Susan doesn't know.
Like Susan was incredibly smart, but like Vicky is
intuitive. If Susan had stopped running away from the TARDIS every episode, they'd have been fine. They wouldn't have got into so many scrapes.
Japes. Shenanigans.
Exactly. I'm glad you understand what I mean.
I don't. Where am I? I'll tell you where I am. Vortis! Because our next destination, and I can't wait to hear what you're going to say about this, is the web planet. Lucy, you sat through all
2 million episodes.
6 episodes of the web planet.
No!
This is a story I have a fondness for, but not in the way I think they would have liked.
Yes.
Could you explain the basic plot of the web planet?
I can't, because I've got no idea what was going on.
You tuned out so much during this one.
Okay, so we're preparing for our upcoming nuptials.
Yes.
And so I'm hand making a lot of things, and I can only do it at night, and we only have time together at night to watch Doctor Who. So with this one, I was like, what is happening? I'm concentrating on what I'm doing. I'm not watching what's on the screen properly. Every time I look up, I'm like, what is this? Who is this? What are they wearing? What are they doing? What is this? Why does it have legs? What is that?
Human legs! So they get off.
Why is that foot still moving around? You know.
They get to the planet Vortis, and Barbara is instantly like sort of in a trance. She's being pulled along.
She got given a gift by Emperor Nero that was a gold bracelet.
Gold bracelet, and for some reason her arm feels like it's acting out of sorts.
Interestingly,
and then she just like starts sleepwalking into this direction, almost into acid, which is pretty frightening.
You should take acid before watching this episode.
This is what you're saying, though.
At this point, Vicki and the Doctor don't know the scrapes that Ian and Barbara got into in Rome.
Yeah.
because Vicky's surprised when
Barbara's like, I got this from
Emily,
Nero.
what's wrong with me? When
Barbara
like,
says, I got this from Nero, mate.
And they're like, what?
So
That's exactly what Vicky said.
What?
Yeah, I gave up pretty quick in this.
So
how many episodes is it?
Gold
18?
is something that can control life forms, and it's a planet that used to belong to the Menoptera, who we discover over the course of the story they are meant to be the rightful citizens of the planet.
Here's something that happened.
Oh, God.
I said, Harmonoptera.
City of the Dead.
The City of the Dead from the Mummy. And you said, well... And that made me think, maybe it's got something to do with mummies. Maybe it's got something to do with, like, pyramids for that. And mummies, I'm all up for that. No. So disappointed.
That's alright. Pyramids of Mars is in, like, 17 seasons time.
I was so disappointed. I was waiting for it, and it never came.
Anyway, the Menoptera are the rightful...
False goddess.
Toxel, get off me! Like, they're the rightful, like, species who live on the planet.
The bugs.
The Menoptera, the big moth people. But that was kind of cool that over the course of the story you learn that. At first you're like, who are these guys? Why are they trying to infiltrate? What's happening? Like, they're playing in secret. Like, they're a little group and, like, they rescue Barbara and they're like, right, who the hell are you? And she's like, I don't know what the hell's going on.
No, they didn't say that. They'd have been...
Who are you? She's like, I was just over there a minute ago, now I'm here and I don't understand what the hell's going on. They're like, hello, we're big wasps. Look at me, Susan! Oh, she's gone! So the Doctor and Ian, this, that, the other, and Vicky, this, that, the other. And basically, this is one of the most annoying Doctor Who stories ever, yet weirdly, apparently, one of the most fondly remembered, and I don't get why. I could understand it. I could understand if you were a kid at the time, this would be fascinating. Because the Zarbi are these giant ants with human-shaped legs underneath, and they talk like this. You can stop to breathe. So irritating. But this was one of those alien creatures where they really wanted these guys to be like the next Daleks. They wanted kids to really buy into the Zarbi. The Zarbi are being controlled by what we learn later on is the Animus. It's this whispered voice who speaks.
Lampshade.
There's a hairdryer. Hairdryer for babies. And, basically, it's a story about how the cattle of this planet, the Zarbi, these big strong ant things with stupid legs, were taken over mentally. Them and like there's a little woodlouse thing as well. They're taken over mentally. In a minute. I know exactly what you're thinking. They're taken over mentally by this thing, which we learn later is an animus. And it's a great idea. It's a really creepy idea. The animus is this thing that's a parasite that has crashed into the planet, buried into its core, and now like a plant is just growing outwards and spreading its influence. And if you get too close to it, you're completely under its like will. And it's just like, right, die now. You're not going to kill me. You're just going to lie here and die. And that's creepy. And it's used the Zarbi to drive the Menoptera off-world so that it has this planet. And then eventually it will break up in some way and spread another like version of itself to another world. This is how it breeds. So this is just like one of something else that's somewhere else.
Gross.
Really cool, but really cool, creepy idea. It's like, wow, like a weed that takes over the planet. Do you know what I mean?
War of the Worlds
spooky.
did it better.
I
was trying to think how I would do that sound.
Yeah. Less annoying.
We get no Thunderchild in this.
That would improve the story tenfold.
Oh, I love that story.
Do you know what else would improve the story? Do you know what else would improve the story tenfold? More than the same 3 flying shots.
They must have paid so much.
The fight in the last episode is just like, oh, that's a really cool shot. Oh, there it is again. Oh, there it is again. Oh, there it is again.
Who was it that picked that woodlouse up
and the actors clearly sort of slid out of it under frame, and then they've just crunched it against the wall.
They just smashed it against the wall.
And then you've got the buggers who live underground who are like, upside down.
They hop everywhere.
And they freaking hop everywhere. And the Menoptera, the actors are trying so hard to make it work, but the movements are terrible. It's just so bad.
They got paid to do that.
It's so bad. I mean, there's some things that are really clever, like the suits that the Doctor and Ian wear when they go out exploring. It's the first time where he sort of takes caution. So it's like this sort of overall thing with this little metallic thing there that generates enough of an oxygen field around the front of you that you don't need to have like a big tank on you or anything at first, and it's got a limited amount of time you can be out there. But it's like, oh, that's a cool idea. Like
Barbara just walked out.
Or something you just put on and you're like, okay, right, let's take some readings, we'll be okay.
Like that Simpsons gag. They need to put on the masks and they just put goggles on.
But you know what I mean? It's just like, it's simple. It's cool, simple ideas like that, and then it just goes on for way too long, and the Menoptera are just hilarious, and Azabi bangs into the camera.
That's spectacular.
It's pretty magical.
It is
that
so
moment.
funny. Okay, so we were watching this. It was all serious. There was no laughing yet. And then something happened. What are they called?
The ants.
Yeah.
Zabi.
So, do you tell them what happened?
I have to hurry because I've got to go in like 20 minutes.
Oh,
so, sorry everybody. So which bit? Which bit are we talking about?
Where it was silent and then it wasn't. And you videoed it and sent it to your friends.
Oh, where the Zabi smacks its head into the camera?
No! When you first see the Zabi and it's an ant.
Yeah.
And then there's 2 human legs on it.
Oh, I mean the first time you see it?
Yeah. And I was watching it and I just burst out laughing.
Yeah.
Like, proper chesty laugh. Because it was the most...
Because again, like, look at that. You see the Zabi there. That looks pretty scary, doesn't it? It's just 2 big ants. But notice how that rock is covering up its... And that rock's covering up its human legs.
It's got human legs and it's just obviously somebody hunched over, walking around in an ant suit. I mean, obviously, they wouldn't have been able to do much more about that.
The random beastie in the rescue that lives at the bottom of the cave was pretty embarrassing.
Oh my god!
Everything in this was like 20 times that.
It took us a long time to get through that, didn't it?
It did. I enjoy this for all the wrong reasons. I think it's hilariously terrible. It's got some amazing ideas, but the execution is terrible.
Wow, it was not good.
Now, speaking of not good, we weren't able to watch the next one in its entirety because the Crusade, ladies and gentlemen, only exists in episodes 1 and 3 on this Lost in Time set.
Mm-hmm.
So we got a bit of Richard Lionheart and everything. We got a bit of that. We got a sense of the story. Not bad. Like, we don't see enough really to see what the whole tale's like, and we did the whole like Wikipedia summary afterwards to get the gist of how it ended.
There's the animated
bits,
isn't there?
No, that was Reign of Terror.
Oh, flipping out! I don't remember any of this one.
This was the King Richard, and the guy went forward pretending to be the king, and Barbara pretending to be
his sister.
His sister, so that they could protect Richard for a bit longer. The uncomfortably made up actors who are clearly not from that part of the world. And episode 3, there's bits of Doctor and Vicki. Vicki, obviously, in episode 2 at some point had to disguise as a boy.
As a boy, for some reason, who knows why.
It's tough to talk about the Crusade. I would like to read it at some point.
I would
like to read like the Target novel, just to get a sense, because we like our historicals.
No idea what was going on.
We like our historicals, but you don't really get enough from the 2 surviving episodes to get a sense of what the story's like.
No.
But thank you, Lost in Time. If you don't have this, guys, some of the stories since have been found. But or more of them have been found. But if you don't have Lost in Time, it's worth a peek because it's the fullest collection we have so far of missing Doctor Who and what survives of the missing stories. So that's how we were able to at least get a taste of the Crusade for this binge. But yeah, I didn't get enough from it to know much about the story. So we did get a lot of the Space Museum. The Space Museum.
The Space Museum.
So this is freaking weird. It's a cool idea. They arrive slightly out of time, and they see like the place they've arrived in several hours ahead, like possibly a day later or 2 days later, and they're exhibits in this museum amongst a graveyard of ships and a bunch of artifacts, including a hollowed out Dalek and everything. So it's like, oh, this is spooky. Wait, we're going to be exhibits. Oh God, we need to get out of here. And then time realigns and leaves them stranded in the middle of the destination, and shit after shit starts to happen to them. What do you think of the Space Museum?
I thought it was a really good story. Again,
a really good story that is not to be sold separately, according to that sticker there.
That you can't see because it's shiny and it's a podcast. So what are you doing?
There we are. Not to be sold separately because it came in a box set with the chase.
Again, too long.
Yeah, is it a six part?
I remember.
No, it's a 4-part. It just feels like a 6-part.
I remember the important bits, But I can't remember what happened in a lot of it.
I remember the Doctor being interrogated by the weirdly semi-South African.
Yeah.
They use a mind, like a mind reading thing to find out your true intentions,
screen,
and he just starts showing them the weirdest shit.
Like footage of seals or something.
Yeah, the seals and like a guy in a unitard doing like a juggling routine or something.
Weird.
It's like, what the hell?
But the Doctor's.
But he looks so chuffed with himself.
Do you know what? I've decided he's very cheeky in this series.
Yeah. Oh, the Doctor starts to become more like a mischievous figure by this point. Like he's still an angry old fusspot, but he's loosened up, and he loosens up. I think after Dalek invasion, that's where he starts to loosen a bit.
Yeah.
I mean, Christ, he disguises himself in the Dalek armor at one point, and then starts pretending to be a Dalek briefly. He pops his head out and does a chuckle.
It's Ian, isn't it?
No, it's the Doctor. Ian hidden the Dalek in the Daleks.
Oh,
in the first Dalek story. Because he hides in it, and that Dalek like shows them around. In this one, there's the one in the museum, and the Doctor hides.
Oh
in it
yeah, I remember you. Oh, little scamp.
Ian, Barbara, and Vicki spend most of this running around in clothes from the previous story, and
hiding in rooms,
being like, "Oh shit, what are we gonna do now?" It's fun. Special seems fine. It's not a favourite.
It's not groundbreaking, no.
It's not a favourite, but it's got its moments, and they're nice moments. But again, not particularly inspiring. No. Cool premise, sort of turned into just more of a... Oh, and again, yet another rebellion plot. Like, oh, here are the younger people who are rebels and they're going to fight back. And it's like, we're going to have to get the weapons. It's like, we've had this quite a lot now, guys. So, Space Museum. The chase! Which is also not to be sold separately. The chase! Ooh, the chase! What do you think of the chase, Brenew?
How many episodes was it?
6. Unlike the Keys of Marinus, it changed location quite often.
It was very interesting.
You sound very interested there.
Well, I don't like this episode.
Let's talk about episodes 1 to 5 then, shall we?
Okay. You're gonna have to remind me.
Let's fix that mic lead slightly. The chase is
episode 1.
It becomes pretty apparent that the Daleks have somehow got hold of a space and time capsule, cool. And they are pursuing the Doctor and his team through time in a mission to eradicate them because twice they have foiled their plots. So they're going to take them out. So they've gone to the trouble of getting hold of a time machine that is also bigger on the inside and can follow on behind them. So the chase is on. We go from like Daleks to we go to the top of the Empire State Building in a pretty funny sequence. We go to a ship that, after the events of the interaction, turns out to be the Mary Celeste. So we finally get an explanation as to what happened to the crew of the Mary Celeste.
Yes.
We go to what we think is some kind of weird, freaky, horrible, haunted castle containing classic monsters, and then it's pleasantly revealed at the end to be a futuristic theme park ride that's shut for maintenance.
Definitely not futuristic, though.
No, but it is because like the tide, so like Carnival 2049 or something like that. So it's like, oh, that's good.
I really hope they're not like that.
No, but
2049.
Well, they've got an animatronic Frankenstein's monster that can lift and destroy a Dalek. Do you want to say that famous line?
What? Yeah, I can't remember. I forgot what he says. I'm Count Dracula. Blah. No, it's little pieces of paper stuck out the bottom of his lip. I'm Count Dracula. The Dracula in Hollywood, the Universal Studios, was pretty bad. But
he was wonderful.
The one you met, the one I met. Oh my God, nearly took me away with him.
He had a little brolly.
Good grief.
He had a little brolly to keep himself shaded in the daytime. That's a good detail.
And he actually nearly bit me. It was quite bizarre.
Now, Dracula's dubbing was only a teaser of the terrible dubbing that was to come in this story.
Yeah, but it wasn't right.
Because in episode 4 and 5, we meet the Doctor's duplicate.
Wow.
Yeah!
I forgot about that.
For some reason, the Daleks have several contingencies for destroying the time travellers, one of which is a robotic duplicate of the Doctor that looks nothing like the Doctor until he's in a close-up, when it's suddenly William Hartnell.
But even when it's... Oh my God.
I mean, the guy does a good job of sort of mimicking his mannerisms, but it's just really stiff.
He's much taller, much
Oh,
younger,
boy.
and much
Me
lankier.
tits. I've got me tits.
Doctor never said that.
Yeah, he did.
He did not.
Susan, me tits. I've put him down.
He definitely didn't.
On the floor.
No.
The Doctor wrestles his duplicate. He beats the shit out of him and then tears out his silicon heart.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
There's
then
a lot of fighting in this series.
There was. And then we meet the mechanoids.
I really liked them.
You like them?
I really did.
I've never got it, but you seem to be one of those people who gets it, apparently.
I thought they were and somehow quite cute.
The simplistic Dalek. But I mean, they put you in exhibits.
I know.
Poor Stephen.
They were quite
Stephen
polite,
Taylor.
though.
His ship crashed there.
But
like
there's also
2
that,
years
there's
prior.
also that amazing miniature set where there's just a teeny mechanoid just going away. And there's no.
It is impressive, that model, though.
It is
pretty
it is
impressive.
really impressive.
Even with the teeny mechanoid.
This is dead cute. dead cute.
Oh god.
I love things like that. Seeing, like, I'm currently watching. Oh no, I've just finished watching Lord of the Rings behind the scenes, and finding out that quite a lot of the sets were miniatures. Absolutely blew my mind. So
Yeah.
I am.
So when you watch this, you're like, well, that's obviously a miniature.
That was a miniature.
So that's.
So I've got a big appreciation for things like that. So seeing that was just. It's so long ago, like 50 years ago.
I like the
It's
idea that
amazing.
they were sent there to terraform the planet and get it ready, and fight back against the big polystyrene bin bag trees.
Arr.
That
this was the one with the
walk
trees in it.
around.
Yeah.
But I like the idea that terraforming Stephen
It
crashes
was
there,
Lord of the Rings.
and because it's gone a bit skew-if, they find Stephen Taylor when he gets to the city, and they're just like, "Oh, what a strange thing! Here's a freaking enclosure for him. Let's look at him." It's like, oh, that's weird. Stephen's introduction's really nice. He's instantly
shoehorned in.
but the way he is in that first scene, he's instantly a likable guy. You're like, oh god, this poor fella. Like, he's seeing people. When the way Peter Purves plays that moment where he first sees them, but he's like, you are real, aren't you? And they're like, yeah. He looks so genuinely like, oh my god, this is great.
Yeah.
And it sort of redeems the weird American voice he did as the other character in episode 3. Which is a funny sequence.
It is quite funny.
Let's talk about why you don't like the story. And when I say don't like, I mean just you can't get over the ending. So when we were watching this, Barbara turns to Ian in the last part and she goes, the Dalek's time machine can accurately go places. Like, now's our chance. And she's like, I want to go home.
Yeah, all the Daleks and the mechanoids have an amazing fight at the end. It's great.
With the same shot of them being grabbed, playing 5 times.
Oh yeah, the mechanoids have that weird arm thing that's like this. It's like little pincers. It's quite funny.
Little cuddle pincers.
Oh, that'd be the greatest hug. Anyway,
No,
so the end.
Flamethrower at the end. But yeah, so, and basically they talk about going home and now's their chance. And they start to present it to the Doctor and he's like, oh, another question, because he's worried that for their safety, because it's a 50-50 chance that it'll work. It'll actually send them back there. And you just turned to me, because you were working on something at the time. You were making something.
I was sat on the floor cutting bunting out. That's what I was doing.
And you turned to me and you went, no, it's not this one. And I went, what do you mean? You went, I'm not ready.
At first you said no. I wasn't ready.
So your favourite thing about the show so far has been Ian and Barbara.
Yeah.
How did you feel when you realised they were about to go, and what do you think of their final scenes?
I felt utterly heartbroken.
Like William Hartnell, apparently. He genuinely did not want them to leave, so him having a go at them feels very genuine.
I mean...
And him sort of saying he will miss them after the fact seems very genuine as well.
Yeah, you definitely could see it in his eyes that he was being genuine, but... why did Clara have to stay so long when they only stayed for 2
Focus. I've got to go in like 5 minutes.
Clara. Anyway, yeah, I felt really, really sad. But also, when they were happy jaunting around London...
In a crappy slideshow.
Yeah, with lots of pigeons. What the hell?
So where did they end up?
London, 1965.
There you go, Twitch.
I'm really glad that I got that date right.
There you go,
last
Twitch.
time I said 1964, didn't I? And I got told off. Yeah, I was... I mean, it's understandable, but also I didn't want it to happen. And I'm still not ready. I'm still not ready to talk about it fully.
But you are, so that's good.
Yeah,
I love their last scene on the bus.
Yeah.
Like, the fact the fare's slightly different, and that throws them off, and they're really confused
And
by
that bus driver was very...
So where have you been? The
Ticketmaster.
moon? It's like, oh, well, you're not far off. Ian. It's like...
And the guy's like, right, Yeah, pay the ticket.
Crazy drunk people. And then that whole thing where they're like,
Crazy drunk.
how do we explain to the school, and like our family, where the hell we've been?
2 years. And we watched the behind the scenes.
Yeah, there's a little special feature on this called Last Stop White City, which is a little documentary about them leaving. And I don't know where the short story's from, but William Russell at the end of it reads an extract from a short story
it's really quite
about
heartwarming.
Barbara knocking on the front door to her mum, and her mum like gives her a massive hug and then sort of points and shouts at Ian and is like, "This is the man who took you away from me." And she goes, "No, this is the man who brought me home." And it's just this little like, oh yeah, we never thought about that. And this isn't something the Doctor Who really explores until the Russell T Davies era. The show does not really explore the notion of how people's families would react. It goes on with how people feel in themselves and them realising, oh, I kind of want a home, or this isn't fun anymore, and that sort of stuff comes up. But it isn't really until Ace that we start to get a notion of, oh, there's a place where they belong. Maybe they should get back there. And then Russell T Davies era uses that a lot throughout the 2000s and grounds it in a really nice way. But even just that little scene of the two of them on the bus does that so nicely. I really like the chase. It's mental.
I suppose I like it too.
Oh, God, I'm Count Dracula.
That impression is getting better and better.
It's scary, isn't it? Do you know what else is better and better? This is one of my favourites. This is the Time Meddler, Mother Truckers. This is the final episode of Series 2. This is the first William Hartnell DVD I owned.
Really?
Yeah. I had this. I had Genesis of the Daleks, Tom Baker. I had the TV movie and Survival, Sylvester McCoy. Those were the 4 classic DVDs I had for the longest time.
That's very random. Why?
Because they were just the ones that I could afford or that I spotted and went, ooh.
Did you like the cover? Did that make a difference?
No, I wanted to watch a First Doctor story. And I read the synopsis on the back and I was like, that sounds really fun. So I bought this one. And then Monty Pan bought me the Sontaran box set. And so suddenly I had 4 more stories and it just grew from there. My collection, apart from that, it's just been repeats.
Look at it now!
Look at it now, Sonny Jim! Hey! I love the Time Meddler. I'm not going to talk about the Time Meddler. What do you think of the Time Meddler? What was the basic plot of the Time Meddler, Lucio?
They land on a beach and it's... What's his name? David?
What? Stephen!
Stephen! Just coming.
Hey! 2 references!
Nice.
Oh, okay.
What was his name? Oh yeah, they've landed. What's his name again?
Stephen.
They landed on a
Stephen
beach.
Taylor.
And why have they landed on a beach? Anyway, the Doctor.
Because they go random places, remember?
Yeah, but there's a reason that they go up there.
Well, they get there and the Doctor suddenly realises that Stephen stowed away with them.
Yeah.
And
did the bear make it?
Yeah. Boomer will live. The panda mascot. It's his mascot. His mascot made it.
Is it ever seen again?
I can't remember, but it gets a featured line in this episode. That over there is that
fucking thing.
That over there is the visualizer. This is the Save Return switch. That over there is a chair on the which there is a panda. Sheer poetry, dear boy. He gets some zing. He gets some.
Now stop
buggering me. He gets so many zingers in this one.
He does.
He says like a Viking helmet. He's like, what do you suppose it is? A space helmet for a cow? It's just like, oh my god.
That's not
Sassy
accurate.
Doctor. So Stephen's now the new addition to the TARDIS. Welcome, Stephen Taylor. Taylor.
He's very. I'm not going to listen to him. I'm going to do my own thing.
He's the rough and tumble, naive one, and now we've got the young, hip granddaughter-y character is now the one who's like, I'm completely bought into this, and it's the rough and tumble newcomer who's like, this is bullshit, and they're like, well, you'll soon see, and he's kind of almost proved right by accident, because they happen to arrive in a time where there are wristwatches lying around, and there's modern stuff throughout this weird, it's in the year 1066, and yet there is stuff from like the 20th century.
And they head to, there's a monastery, and the Doctor heads to it, and there's Vikings involved.
Yeah, and it's like on the eve of the Viking invasion, and it was the whole Normandy and all that stuff's about to happen. Basically, what's meant to occur at this point is Vikings come, the Vikings invade, like Harold and whatnot fights back to a degree, and then Harold faces William the Conqueror over in Normandy. Like, that's meant to happen. Somebody's trying to avert it so that the Vikings are destroyed earlier. Harold gets the upper hand and becomes King of England because he thinks it'll be better. Because there's a bloody meddling monk knocking about.
Cheeky monk.
Played by Peter Butterworth, who's really, really good in this.
He is really good. I did find myself really distracted because I knew him
from
the
Carry
On films.
Well, we were saying, weren't we? I said to you, Hartnell,
I want to see that.
Hartnell is the star of the first Carry On movie. He's Carry On Sergeant.
I'm going against all my British nature here, but I'm not a big fan of the Carry On films.
That's fine.
Purely because they were on all the time.
Oh, fair enough. I was going to say, I think you'd have to be in a certain mindset now to watch them and not feel a bit queasy.
A bit, okay. I've not seen one.
Some of them are genuinely great. Carry On Screaming is brilliant.
I've never seen that, and I really want to.
That one's not. There's obviously sex humour in there, but that one's brilliant because
Has it got Barbara Windsor in it?
No, she's not in Carry On Screaming.
She's not in that
Carry On Screaming, it doesn't have everybody in it, and there's a few extra actors, I can't remember his name, but the lead guy from Steptoe and Son is the lead character in that one, for example. John Pertwee's in that one as a mad scientist.
Wow.
But that one's brilliant because that one is just, it's a Hammer horror pastiche.
See, that's why I'm surprised I've not seen it. That's
why it's brilliant, because it's kind of scary in places, and it's really daft, and it's got one of Kenneth Williams' best performances in it. It's really fun. And again, Butterworth I think is in that as well, actually. But yeah, he's a lot of fun in this, and he definitely needed a comedy actor. The monk has returned in the Big Finish audios. This isn't his first appearance in the show.
The monk.
Yeah, but we will not get to see that second appearance because it is unfortunately in the Dalek's master plan amongst two of the episodes that are, as far as we know, gone forever. Yeah, he just come back and he assists the Daleks. And then he gets stranded again in an Arctic wasteland, unable to take off. Yeah, but he has come back in the audios. I've got some of the Big Finish audios, the Eighth Doctor, where he's played by Graham Garden from The Goodies, and he's brilliant. And in more recent ones, apparently he's been played by Rufus Hound.
Has he passed
who plays
away
another
now?
incarnation. Peter Butterworth, quite a long time ago. But it's cool that the character has got to have a second lease on life a bit in the audios because they've gone, well, obviously now we know that he's a Time Lord, so we can play around with the idea of there being different ones of him, which obviously wasn't even a factor at this point. Yeah. So that's quite cool, and I like the fact that he's lived on, and the character has been in other things.
I did think he was the Master.
A lot of people have tried to retcon it, but he's the Master. It's an early incarnation of the Master, but that doesn't work.
No, it wouldn't work at all.
And plus, he's just a fiddler. He's a tinkerer. He's a meddler.
A time tinkerer.
Yeah, he's not evil.
There was a giant gun. What are you talking about?
Well, look, he's going to blow up the ships, but he's not evil. He's irresponsible. That's the problem. That's why he's dangerous, because he could screw up the course of history for his own selfish needs. Although one of his plans is brilliant, where he put £5 in the Bank of England in 1810 or something, and then came back to collect it with all the interest in 1970 something. Brilliant idea.
If I had a time machine, I would do that.
He's the one who gave Da Vinci the idea of trying to create a flying machine. Yeah. So there's some fun ideas in here. His TARDIS is a brilliant reveal. You genuinely looked shocked when that happened. You were like, what? I was like, yeah.
But the end was hilarious with that as well. It was.
The Doctor's basically just nicked his dimensional whatever, so now it's tiny inside. It's
just his face at the entrance of it, and he's like, it's really funny. It was quite amusing. But I like that. It takes the whole story for Stephen to be like, okay, I kind of get it now. It's very, very obvious that William Hartnell has time off during
episode 2. Because he has 2 lines of dubbed dialogue shouted from other locations. He
throws breakfast at the monk.
Which is a great shot.
Terrible. That is disrespectful.
Again, he gets rough and tumble like this stick may not be a gun, but it can still do you some considerable harm. And you're like, oh shit.
And they managed to take down 2 Vikings with a plank of wood.
Yes.
That was quite thin. Amazing. So I enjoyed that one.
Hey, I'm glad, because I've got such a huge soft spot for the Time Meddler.
And it shows that the TARDIS can go through quite a lot and not be...
Yeah, well, because the whole subplot with Vicki and Stephen is like, oh my god, we've lost the TARDIS in the sea.
The tide, and
the Doctor's like, no, don't worry about it. When the tide comes out, it will be there. It's like, oh, all right. Good old Tardoy-S. Right, so I really have to scram. So let's wrap up the thoughts here. Doctor Who Season 2. Favourite story?
The Romans.
All right. I think for me, probably the Time Meddler still. I just enjoy it so much.
I did enjoy that one.
Least favourite story? The Web Planet?
Flipping, yeah.
Which is weird, because we can't really say anything about the Savages, but yeah, the Web Planet is. Not the Savages. freaking
I thought you
Crusade.
said, I thought you said
Oh, no,
sandwiches.
the Savages is one in our next series, which we'll never get to see because none of it exists.
That's starting to like hit home a little bit. That the next series that we watch.
Well, this is season 2 with Lost in Time making it look a little chunkier. Season 3 is like that much,
which is really
in terms
really
of what
sad.
exists.
The fact that we will actually never see that.
Yeah, it is strange.
Ever.
It is strange.
Is really sad.
Well, it's going to get weirder as we go into the Troughton years because season 4 is 2 Hartnell stories, one of which doesn't exist anymore, and then a load of Troughton. So that's going to be really weird.
The fact that it's just the fact that nobody will ever see it.
Yeah.
Is really really sad.
But on the plus side, still having fun.
Yes.
Yeah. See you next time for series 3 of Dake to Hay. Sorry, or as the Zarby would say,